Welcome to the Product Review Hub. Let's do phone unboxing. The new Poco M4 5G unboxing and features. It's now available in over 100 countries and we expect it to be the best-selling smartphone of the year. There are several advantages over the Poco M3 Pro 5G, including a larger and more colorful display, a better back camera arrangement, faster charging and stereo speakers. And it's still a bargain at this price. The new Poco M4 Pro is powered with an IPS LCD screen with a 90Hz refresh rate and a 1080p resolution that has an adaptive 90Hz refresh rate. Aside from a slight increase in physical size, the M3 Pro now supports DCI P3 colors instead of sRGB colors. It also has a touch panel that responds faster, 240Hz versus 180Hz on the Poco M3 Pro. The Dimensity 810 5G chipset found in the Poco M4 Pro 5G is the same as seen in the Poco M3 Pro 5G. Not only does the new chipset have a slightly faster CPU, but it also employs a more efficient manufacturing technique than its predecessor. Real-world application of this won't be significant, but it is an improvement over the previous version. For Poco M4 Pro 5G, Xiaomi has had enough of the camera count game and is ditching out modded equipment like depth sensors and disappointing macro cameras. That's one less camera than the Poco M3 Pro, but it's more versatile. The M3 has no ultra-wide snapper. An additional feature of the Poco M4 Pro 5G, in addition to the 5000 mAh battery, is a 33-watt charger, which is included in the retail packaging. Xiaomi promises to be able to charge a phone to 100% capacity in 59 minutes, which we will absolutely test. The 464 version of the Poco M4 Pro 5G retails for €230. However, certain early adopters will be able to have it for as little as €200. We're interested to find out more. Like many recent Redmi and Poco phones, the Poco M4 Pro 5G is IP53 dust and splash resistant. This indicates it should be fine in light rain and humid areas. We'll see if the lack of a macro and depth camera affects portrait mode or if the AI algorithm compensates. Let's hope so. Poco M4 Pro 5G unboxing. The M4 Pro 5G, like previous Poco phones, comes in a distinctive yellow package. A 33-watt power adapter, a 3A USB cable, and a protective transparent rubber casing are included. The Poco M4 Pro 5G. The case compartment also holds certain documents, the SIM ejection pin, and Poco stickers for those who want to openly show their brand loyalty. It's a classic dual camera. Poco M4 Pro 5G has one less camera than the Poco M3 Pro 5G, but one more. How is that? The redesigned Poco ditches the depth and macro cameras in favor of a primary wide and a secondary ultra-wide. The M4's ultra-wide camera makes it more versatile than the M3. The Poco M4 Pro 5G. With a 50MP Samsung ISOCELL S5 KJN1 1x2.76 sensor, the Poco M4 Pro 5G's primary camera same as on Redmi 10 and Realme 8i. The sensor and f1.8 lens allow PDAF. This camera has a night mode. The default camera app is classic MIUI, swiping left and right changes modes, and all but macro are available. The zoom shortcuts are 0.6x, 1x and 2x. This is because the M4 Pro does not have a telephoto camera. The Poco M4 Pro 5G. On the other side of the viewfinder are flash mode, HDR, AI and a magic wand with beauty effects and filters. A hamburger menu hides more options and a shortcut to the settings. You won't discover a way to change the output resolution. The main camera has a Pro mode. Manual 50-megapixel photos are available. Using ISO 6400 and shutter speeds up to 30 seconds is possible. Aesthetics. The main camera saves 12.5 megapixels by default, which is good for the price range. In this image, the colors are generally true to life. It's late fall here. The contrast and dynamic range are excellent and the noise levels are very low. Auto HDR was disabled and even when enabled, it refused to fire. Because the photographs are not sharp, some flora and people's faces may appear oil-painted or smeared. Still, the Poco M4 Pro 5G photographs are good enough at this price range. The Poco M4 Pro 5G has a normal AI trigger. It improves images by raising contrast and saturation depending on the scene, sky, grass, buildings. The 2x zoomed photos appear to be more than just crop and upscale. They're clearer and less processed than the normal 1x photographs, so if you need a zoomed shot, use the 2x zoom instead. Zoom is still unnatural, but the results are slightly better than the common crop and upscale. These shots are beautiful downsized to 4MP. The 50-megapixel shots are merely upscaled 12.5-megapixel images, therefore using the 50-megapixel setting is pointless. Not even for improved 2x zoom results, as the viewfinder's 2x digital zoom is adequate. The 8-megapixel ultra-wide shots are decent for a budget phone like the Poco M4 Pro 5G. They are finely detailed and have well-straightened corners. Good contrast and dynamic range for such a camera. We've seen better ultra-wide shots on a budget or even a mid-range smartphone. The Poco M4 Pro 5G lacks a depth sensor, therefore it must rely on AI to create a depth map for portrait mode. And it performs a fantastic job with no sudden changes or clipped bits. The photographs are bright with strong contrast, crisp where it counts, and we enjoy the blur. The pupils liked the low-light images. They have enough detail thanks to the gentle noise reduction. Colors are good, contrast is acceptable, but dynamic range is poor, typical for low-light photos. We know there's space for improvement, but this is a budget phone with a budget camera, so it's a win in our book. On the Poco M4 Pro 5G, we cannot recommend using night mode. Night mode photographs are frequently noisier, softer and worse than default photos. One gain is restored clipped highlights, which we will never swap for the quality loss. Nighttime ultra-wide images are visible, although they are soft and filled with noise. For what it's worth, they retain decent color and contrast. The ultra-wide camera lacks a night mode. You can see how it compares. Please feel free to compare it to other phones in our database. In place of the predicted 4-megapixel photographs, the Poco M4 Pro 5G takes 16-megapixel photos. So, yay? It's the same camera as the much more expensive Xiaomi 11T Pro. However, saving in full quality always results in soft selfies, but we enjoyed the front camera photos. They have nice colors and contrast and a good dynamic range. Sharpness is acceptable, as is noise. We loved what we saw, especially on the phone. Selfie portraits are also possible, but not as striking. Aside from the per pixel resolution, the topic separation is mediocre and maybe worse with more complicated backdrops. We expect the outcomes to vary greatly depending on the area and haircut, therefore we recommend trying this mode, but not expecting much. Videotaping. All Poco M4 Pro 5G cameras can capture video at up to 1080p at 30 fps with optional electronic stabilization. No 4K option, only the main camera supports 60 fps, no EIS though. The video bitrate is around 20 Mbps and the audio is 256 kbps stereo. The main camera's 1080p clips all have good dynamic range, minimal noise and excellent contrast and dynamic range. In terms of quality, it is adequate for the budget class. The ultra-wide footage isn't great. While it is well framed and has beautiful colors, the image is soft and the dynamic range is limited. It's usable, but unless you need to record everything around you, we recommend utilizing the main camera. That was all. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up.